Welcome to the Indie Musician Summit 2021 with your host, Kate Westwood, brought to you by Westwood Management.
Okay, welcome back to the Indie Musician Summit. Kate with you, and I'm so excited to have my friend and my own producer, Joel Dowling, on the summit. Joel, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Lovely to see all your gorgeous faces, even though I can see one. I'm psyched. I'm ready to go. Let's hit it.
Let's hit it. Now, I slightly twisted your arm, but also lovingly welcomed you and invited you to come be part of the summit. So I have just loved being working with you in music and in a whole range of different things over the last couple of years. And I know that everybody else will just delight in the Joel presence and the wisdom that comes from Joel. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about, you got to brag on your friends. Tell everyone a little bit about who you are, what you've been doing in music, a little bit of your history, and then what you're doing right now and how you got to be there.
Wow. So if I go right back, I started playing guitar when I was 11, I think. I come from a farming background, which is hilarious because farming is the most removed thing in my world. So I come from a pretty strict household. So my dad was like, okay, if you want to learn guitar, then, sure, go for it. But you're going to be practicing half an hour to 45 minutes a day. And if you don't, you won't be eating dinner. All the things that are totally illegal these days. And so I just remember there's this funny, point where we all get to, whether or not we're learning an instrument or we're learning songwriting or we're, just learning something new creatively, where at the start, it very much feels like you're just, practicing and you don't know what you're doing. But then you hit this line and all of a sudden, for me, when I hit that line in guitar, I was like, oh, if I put that note with that note, it creates this chord, and then I can put that chord with that chord. And so as soon as I hit that point, Dad had to, beg me to stop practicing in my bedroom. And back then it was before, social media or distraction. Like all you had was, a little Sony boombox and my gold Fender sparkly guitar, which was just absolutely gorgeous. And so that's where it all started for me. I just started playing guitar. And then pretty early on, I remember, probably around 15, 16, a friend of mine got some fancy new recording software. And I was like, what in the heck is this world? And pretty much since then, I've just been pretty much obsessed with everything recording, working with, songwriting, working with songwriters, songwriting myself, learning how to get the best tones out of things, how to pull a song apart, how to put it back together. So that's pretty much, what I do now. And I've been doing that, for, a good long while. I did have a stint between 2012 and 2019 where I was on the road pretty much full-time, away from my family, away from my wife who was pregnant at the time. And so luckily I'm now able to be home, have a studio at home and, work with people that I love. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. I'm pretty blessed. So I do love my job. Yeah.
I love that that Dad made you.
Oh, 100%. The funny thing is that we had this crazy moment where I'll never forget this. I got so emotional because he used to put his ear up to the door and listen to see if I was actually practicing or if I just had my door closed and I was just lying on my bed or something. And so, he'd open the door to see whether or not I was doing it. And, but when I hit that line, as I said before, he didn't have to, try and, force the guitar into my hands. I just had this love for it. And I had this moment with my dad where he came to a show in Sydney and it was packed out at the Horden. There was 5,000 people there. watched me play this gig, and comes up to me after the show, and he's got tears rolling down his eyes, and he gives me this massive hug, and then he grabs me by the side of the face, and he just holds my face, and he's like, "This is why I did it." And I was just like, for goodness sake. And so I just broke down. I was like, that's just, amazing. And so from his point of view, he understood that the discipline actually allows you to walk into and pursue your dreams. But as a 15 or as a 12-year-old, you don't know that. You have no idea. You need to be told that. Well, at least I did. So, I'm pretty blessed to have a great dad who believed in me, and mum from the get-go. But yeah, I owe a lot to him and to my in general. Yeah.
Oh, I love that story. One, because it's just, we've got to celebrate the dads in our lives who help us and love us, that tough love. But also it does make me, think about what we're going to be talking about today, is this whole thing. If we need people in our lives who are going to champion us and encourage us, but push us lovingly, but, help us get to that point where, oh, now I have a love for it, or now I'm, good enough that it's not work anymore. It's just building the skills. Because I think, and I'm sure there's horror stories, but for so many of us, we all needed that push. They made me, and now I love it. And now I'm grateful that they pushed me.
Yeah. Without those people, it's like, we're doing it on our own, and who wants to do that? We've been alone for the last 2 years in this, lockdown, at least Victorians. And I miss people. I miss working with people. I miss having people in the studio, doing stuff over Zoom. And it's like, it's great. You can keep things rolling, but at the end of the day, there's no human contact. There's no interaction. And so I really hope and pray that, as creatives, that we come out of this time, thriving on the idea of what it looks like to get back into rooms together, instead of I guess I just got to pack it in and kind of not give up. But I understand there's a lot of people in my world right now that are really going through it, including myself. We've been through some pretty hard times. But for me personally, I'm having to come to a point where I'm like, okay, what do I want to do with my life? Do I either want to do this, or do I want to do something else? Because that's the two choices. And I'm like, I now know, going through this time, this is all that I want to do. This is what I want to do with the rest of my life. So if we can all get to that point, whatever it may look like, that's huge.
Yeah. And I hope that some people who are able to take a breath and maybe do something else in pandemic, in COVID, so many people are not able to go back to work or not do as much as they were, of course, that they'll be able to go, actually, no, and have that, no, this was just to get me through this time. I'm stoked to get back in and keep creating. And one thing you said to me a little while ago, which I thought was really helpful, was, you're a bit of a cryptocurrency guy, and you said, when the market's down, that's the time to buy in. It's not the time to get out. It's the time to buy in when things are low, because we know that things will go up again when, they're following the currency and shares in the stock market. And I was just really encouraged as an artist myself, Kate, don't give up. Maybe have to change my expectations about what things are going to look like in the future, because it's going to be a different world than it was before. But now's the time to press in when things are hard. Now's the time when everyone's getting out. Now's the time to get in, so that when things jump up, we're ready, and we're like performance. We've got the songs and we've got the music, and we've been building the relationship with with our fans and those kind of things. So I was so grateful for that insight.
100%. Like, to even take that analogy further, it's like, in that world of trading and all that sort of stuff, there is so, like, when everything is red, and there is just so much fear. There is so much fear in the market. Everyone is just like, oh, it's all over. Sell, 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 sell. And I feel like we are doing that with our dreams right now. I feel like, and I get it. I understand it. Please hear me. It's like there is every excuse under the sun that I'm hearing at the moment, that I'm like, it is so valid. But if there is any part of you, or if there is anything that is, on the inside that is like, oh, you know what, maybe I could just give it, one more crack, or maybe I could just, maybe give it just an hour a week. You don't know. And in essence, that is buying when everyone else is selling. And it's the best time, to buy in. I was doing a little bit of research. Lately, I had this conversation with my dad, and I said to him, Dad, have you, in your life, has there ever been a time that has felt like this, from a societal point of view, from a political point of view, the way that humans interact? Has it ever felt like this before? Excuse me. And he said, he took a second and he goes, yeah, I think, he goes, you know what, at the end of the Vietnam War, it was pretty bad. It felt like this. Politically, there was a lot going on. Socially, there was heaps going on. And I went away and I did a little bit of research, and what I found was that some of the best music and some of the best art that has ever been created was created directly after the Vietnam War.
Wow.
Right at the time where, no one felt like creating. There was so much depression, there was so much pain, there was so much hurt. Families, I'm pretty sure most families, American families, were impacted personally when it came to the Vietnam War, just because there was so much loss. And so when you look at the songs, for example, that were created out of that time, just some of the most incredible songs and some of the most amazing songwriting that I've ever heard. And I'm not saying that we need to come out and start writing all of these songs out of COVID. That's not the point. The point is that we've all got a story to tell out of this time. And so what's your story and how are you going to tell it? And it doesn't matter whether or not it's songwriting, or if you're an artist, or if you're a painter, or if you're a potter. My uncle, for example, used to do pottery, and he could say more with his pottery than he ever could, with his words. And so, again, I know I keep like banging on about this, 20 minutes in, but if there is anything inside, dig deep. It's the time to flip and dig deep.
Yeah. I love that. I like that we touched on that. Let's touch on what life looks like you in a typical production phase, because again, we want the summit to be really practical, and every producer is different. So we're just getting your perspective, but
Totally.
you're not just a producer. You've released music, you've written for others, you write as well, and produce and mix and, record, and, so you're a bit of an all-in producer. So tell us what a traditional and typical production phase looks like for you. As you say, start with a new artist. What does that look like for you?
So it really depends. So we'll just kind of take a few different kind of scenarios. So say, for example, you have someone that I've never met before. So I'll give you an example. So I got a call from a friend of mine, and she was like, hey, there's this girl who I think is really good. She's 15, and she's got a few songs. And so it's, it's weird. And I hate this about, I hated this about myself at the time, but I kind of was like, oh yeah, 15, I just kind of went to that place where I'm like, we'll see. I tell you what, I flipping went over to her house, sat down with her parents, and was blown away by her songwriting, by her, just the way that she was just, able to just tell her story. And it wasn't that she was necessarily, incredibly gifted as a vocalist or as a songwriter or as a guitar player. What she had was that she had so much character. And this is one of the things that I bang on about. And I think, for example, vocalists, from my experience, can really start to go down a road of thinking, I know we can all go down the road of thinking, am I good enough? that person's better than me. And sometimes as a vocalist, you can go, oh, I guess the singers on The Voice are the best singers in the country. I guess that is what a really good vocalist is. But I tell you what, I would take character over amazing vocal chops any day of the week, because
wow.
if you think, for example, like Radiohead, Tom York, he's not an amazing singer, but you put a microphone in front of him and he has so much character that just oozes out. Now we've got other guys like Freddie Mercury and Michael Jackson, who you go, okay, they have the character, and then on top of that, their ability is just extraordinary. But I think that, if you go down the character road rather than going down the, do I have the chops? What that does is that it makes you go, okay, well, maybe it is okay for me just to be me. And maybe actually being me is gives me a better chance in the industry than actually trying to be someone else. And so, I worked with this, 15-year-old, and she's now, 22, and she's put out a bunch of music and has toured all around the country, and went on the road with Birds of Tokyo, and it's just released some amazing music, and it all came from the fact that she just had so much character. And so with her, it was going, okay, I'm not going to impose what I think that you need to do. I'm going to let you kind of inform me by your character as to the road that we should go. So that's kind of scenario one. Scenario two is, sometimes you might work with a band, or you might work with an artist, and they don't actually really know who they are or what they want to be yet. And so as the producer, your job is to actually drill down and to find, first, before you even do any music, listen to any songs, is to find out who they are as a person. I had a really interesting, moment probably 5 years ago, where I was doing a record and I was working with, this really amazing producer, and I was like, wow, this is it. Like, there's no excuses here. There's an amazing studio, amazing producer, amazing songs. This is going to be an amazing experience. And it wasn't, because what happened was that he didn't allow, the musicians to actually be themselves. There was a lot of competition and weirdness in the room. And so I walked away from that going, a good producer is someone who allows the artist to fully be themselves. It's not about how well they can mix or how well they can, arrange a song. It really comes down to, how comfortable can you make your, the client or the artist that you're working with, how in tune with themselves can you get them, and so that's really, where I put a lot of my time into. I'm like, let's put the songwriting to the side. If I don't know the person, let's put the songwriting to the side and let's just hang out for a bit. That's the most important thing. It's crucial.
Love that. And what I would say for me, when I walked in the door, I was really wanting to make music, but I was so insecure and so uncertain of myself as an artist. I'm like a confident woman and, confident in so many other areas, but in this area I was really insecure. And so I would say that for me, having you help develop me as an artist, as much as the music was so valuable, it actually gave me confidence, and it gave me a sense of identity as an artist, just because I had a good producer in the room who knew how to draw that out of me and encourage me to go with my thoughts, go with my instincts. I learned so much in that process. And I wish that everybody had a process like that with a producer. So let's go into that. So look, it may be that not everyone is as aware of that as you. Not every producer is the same. So I want to ask a question. let's say we have attendees to the summit who are listening right now. They're wanting to find a producer. What kind of questions should they be asking a producer, in your opinion, that will help them figure out the right fit for them before they start production, before they sign, yep, okay, you're going to be my producer, like to help kind of maybe make sure that it's the right partnership for both parties?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's almost like going on a date, right? You go on a date, or you go speed dating, and there's no real expectation. There's just a, hey, we're going to hang out and we're going to see if something happens. And I think it's actually, it's healthy if both parties have that same mentality, where just because you send me an email or just because, you know, we talk on the phone or even, you know, catch up for a coffee doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to, you know, work together. Because what needs to happen is that, you know, you as the artist needs to feel comfortable with me, and I need to feel comfortable with you. And so, you know, there's been plenty of times in the past where, you know, I have said to someone, hey, I reckon that you would probably be a better fit with this producer. I think there's, you know, there's also the kind of level of, you know, if we talk about things like budget, budget can be a good marker in terms of understanding where you're at. Like, for instance, you know, a new artist isn't going to ring up Max Martin and pay $100,000 to get their song, you know, written, and then he'll take 50%. And then, you know, you're not going to spend another 20 grand to get it mixed. And then you're not going to spend, like, you're just not going to do that. And so if you're not going to do that, then what are you going to do? So you need to have a look at your budget, and you need to, you know, from a budget point of view, I always feel like your budget needs to be a little bit, it needs to be further out than where you feel like you are at from a capacity point of view. It can't be too comfortable. If your budget is too comfortable, then your product's going to be too comfortable. It needs to be something that you really invest in, and you're like, oh, this is like, oh, if I put, you know, another X amount in, that's really gonna, you know, kind of push me. But what it's actually gonna, like, say to yourself is, this is really important to me. This is a really huge priority. So you can use budget as a way of doing that. And then I think another way is look at the skill set of the producer that you are working with. So some producers, you know, stylistically just may not produce the kind of music that you want to produce. They may do EDM, you're doing country. Therefore, if you go to an EDM producer for country, you're not going to get what you need. Another way is, you know, some producers just produce, some producers produce, songwrite, and mix. Some of them also master as well. And so what you can get there is sometimes you can get, you know, a bit more of a uniform product, because, you know, you've got the same person involved in a bunch of those processes. That can also have cons as well, because it can be really good to get fresh ears and a fresh perspective of someone else that you trust. So, you know, I feel like I'm giving 1,000 answers, but it's the truth. There's so many ways that you can go. I think that you just need to realistically look at where you're at now and where you want to be, and go through the stages of, you know, so say for instance, let's go from a budget point of view. You might go, like, I'm going to spend $500 on this song. And then the next year you might go, okay, I'm going to spend 1,000, and then I'm going to spend 2,000. And so what will end up happening is that you may start going to different people who are, from a hierarchical point of view, further up the ladder, better experience, get a better product. I know that's what I've done in the past. I've got other guys to mix stuff to the point where the last thing that I got mixed was like, wow, okay, like this rate is really high. And so therefore I'm expecting really high things. So yeah, to kind of sum it up, look at where you're at, and be realistic. I think that's probably the biggest point, is just be realistic at where you're at now, with all of the dreams in the future we want. Yeah. We've got to start where we're at.
Yeah, I love that. I think those things are so helpful. And I would definitely agree with that whole thing of the skills thing, because I am a lyricist. I do melody. I've played the basicest of guitar and piano just to get basic chords. I don't even really do demos apart from on my phone. So I need someone who has a good set of, session musos, or who can grasp and put together all the stems, has all the ideas musically, because that's not something that I have. It's not like I'm coming in with a band and we've already got rehearsed riffs and we know how we want the song to go, and we just need really someone to record us. I actually need someone to help me craft the arrangement of the song. Strings here, bass here, because I don't think that way as much. I'm learning to, and so that's why you and I have been a good fit, because you have those skills. And I love seeing you get an idea in your head, and then I just sit there for 10 minutes while you play around. But it's so great because I can hear you developing, like coming up with those ideas melodically, and for the production of the song. And so I think that's so important to ask those questions before you go in, because especially if you're just a solo artist, you need someone who can understand and craft a whole package for you, or be able to bring all those different people together to be able to do that, as opposed to what we said, a band who can just come in and just record all their parts. So really different types of producers, different skills. And I love it. Is a good indicator of the more that they charge, the higher quality you can expect. But I would definitely say as well, you've got to do your research and listen to what else they've been doing as well.
Oh my God, totally, absolutely. You got to look at what else they've done. It's like, my wife is a makeup artist, and she's not going to get hired unless other brides can see how good she is at what she does. So got to get yourself out there.
Yep, so good. Let's keep chatting about that. Around maybe what is your favorite part of being a producer? What do you love the most? Because you do a lot of the things, the songwriting, the pre-production, structure and arrangement, setting up all the recording, mixing, you do a lot of it. What's your favorite part? What gets you most excited that you go, I really enjoy this part?
It's a great question. I really do love hearing a song for the first time, whether or not I'm songwriting or I'm mixing. I love what my gut tells me about the first listen. So this is something that I have really learnt to trust, is my gut, and I don't really second guess it anymore. I think I've learnt that, if I second guess it and I try and change it, it generally ends up being worse. So I go, okay, what's my gut telling me? Love that, don't love that. That's got to change. This has got to go there, blah, 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 blah. Don't overthink it. Just go with what I think in the moment. And so the same thing in a mix. It's like I pull the song up and I go, okay, great. Love that. That's an issue. And so I would say, listening to a song for the first time, love that. I love pulling apart a song and putting it back together. Absolutely love that. And I think I also, I'm a really big fan of mixing as well. I think that is a way for me to be able to portray, my creativity in many different ways, with drums and guitars and keys and effects and all that sort of stuff. And I think the thing that I love about that is I love, for those that have done the Myers-Briggs, I'm an ISTP, which means that I generally get really tunnel focused onto one thing. But another thing that is a big part of my personality is that I love helping other people achieve their dreams. So for me, when I see someone finish a song and that they're just so overwhelmed by what it is, that's huge. That's just huge for me. And so I'm like, well, that's all I need. On to the next one.
I love that. I love the the two aspects of that, seeing you go with your gut, and I'm a beneficiary of that. Then also, being able to help people. What a privilege it is in our jobs to actually really do something that we feel like counts and matters, and helping people to actually tick off a life goal. I thrive in that as a manager and as a coach, able to see somebody able to tick that off and go, wow, I was a part of that. Doesn't matter what happens with it, doesn't matter the outcomes necessarily, but the fact that they've done it is a huge thing. Oh, I've lost you. Are you there?
Yeah, no, I'm here. I was just getting a little bit, I don't know, you've been a little bit glitchy the last minute or so, but hopefully it's all good on your end.
I'll just get my phone and see if I can go on. It has told me a couple of times that my internet is patchy. I'll just get my phone. One sec. Okay. Now, do you want to say hi to Joel? Hi, Joel. Oh, I'm gonna chew your hand. Hello. He's been scratching at the door for the whole time. I'm like, no, you can't come in. Oh my gosh.
Not today.
Not today. Okay. Ow, ow. Okay. There we go, cat. Yeah, it is patchy. Annoying. Is it any better? Hello, hello.
You're still glitchy, but I don't know whether or not, if it's smooth on your end, then great.
I mean, I'm not in it that much. Look, we'll keep going, and if you pause, we'll just redo it.
Have I glitched out at all? Or am I fine?
Yeah, you've your face paused for like a couple of seconds, but then you came back in.
Oh, great. Yeah. Great. Let's keep rolling.
Cool. Now I realize one of the questions just ends halfway through. Let's jump into the mental health space. Cool.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. This is why you were outside, mate. This is why. I feel like you, Joel, with a kid walking in and running in and taking my attention.
Oh yeah. Welcome. Welcome to my life.
Okay. Joel, so good, so helpful. An insight into you, and as you said, every producer is so different, and every artist is different, and it can take time. I love that idea of the speed dating that you said earlier. That you may have to try out a couple of different producers. You may have to connect with a couple of different ones, see what's going to be a good fit, and maybe just doing one song and then committing later on to a bigger project if you find that relationship that connects. So good, so helpful. I want to touch on this whole thing of mental health now. We're asking all the speakers, all the artists, how they're going in this area. Now, you and I talk a lot because we have a producer-artist relationship and we're friends, but how has it been for you in COVID with all the challenges? Of course, you work in the music industry. We can't record right now, which we would like to, but we can't. What does it look like for you to manage your mental health or to do things that take care of yourself in this space? And, maybe some of the things that you do will be helpful to people who are listening. Maybe they'll get some ideas. Oh, I could do that as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge topic, and it's super important, especially, I mean, it's important for everyone. I think, the way that it's important for creative people is that if our mental health, is really hitting us one day, that can actually really impact our creativity. Because it's like creativity comes from such a deep place. If your brain doesn't fill up for it, you're not going to do it. So I think for me, pretty early on, we got into some pretty strict routines, and disciplines in terms of, getting out, going for walks, getting sunlight, even though we've been in winter, like sunlight is actually a really, really big thing for me. Like my studio here there's lots of light, there's lots of windows. The last studio that I was at, no windows, no aircon, so it was either freezing or hot as anything. But the thing that I realized is that the lack of sun just absolutely drained me. So try and, if you have a studio that doesn't have any sunlight, if you can take your laptop, and work outside for a bit, do it. I know that it really helps me. What else has been really helpful? So, I love talking to my friends. So, talking to other people, opening up about what's going on for me has really, helped me. And it, in turn helps them, because then they know that there's someone else that's kind of going through the same thing. I think we all had this kind of epiphany, I don't know, in the last 6 months at, different stages, where we all realized that we're all feeling the same stuff, but it's just hitting us at different points. So, I've got friends who their mental health suffered like right off the bat. And now they're doing really great. And I've got other friends who were flying, and then this last lockdown is just like hit them. So, I think it's, and it's, that's just down to the personality. And I think that we, so I'll just say for me, because I don't want to give recommendations in terms of what you should do, but for me, things that, really, have helped me is making sure that my wife is in a really good headspace. If she's in a really good headspace, I'm in a really good headspace. If she's, having a tough day, then that's going to be, something that's going to be, on my mind. So it's also a big part of my personality, where I like to fix things, and she's like, stop trying to fix me. But yeah, it's my way of showing affection, in terms of like, hey, I don't want you to go through that. I want to help that. So yeah, it may be for you that, helping others actually helps you. And I know for me that it does. So it's definitely helped me.
I love that. And you did say, sometimes just a really good craft beer, really helpful. Yeah. I like the can on the outside. I'm not a beer fan. But with gin, we've definitely talked about gin. And
Right.
had a good gin. Hey, Joel, so wonderful. I'm wondering whether you could just recap again some of those things of, how to find the things that matter in terms of that production relationship. Just as we wrap this up, a couple of just those main points again about, if you're looking for a producer, these are the things you've really just got to focus on. This is really help you get the most out of that relationship that you have with your producer. Yeah.
So number one is you've got to feel comfortable. You have to feel comfortable, and like that, especially, at the get-go, the responsibility on that, in my opinion, is up to both people, but really it's up to the producer. It's up to them to create, because generally you're coming into my environment, or you're going into their environment. And so you've never met the person before, you're driving around, you're walking to this house that you've never been. It can, and then you've got to be creative. It can be all of these things piling up to you at once. So I think a really good, telling sign of a good producer is, how do they make you feel when you walk into the room? Is it fun? Is it lively? Or are they just talking about themselves? Or does it start to go down a negative road too quick? Or, just be aware of what is going on, in the room and within yourself. And you know what? It's totally okay to walk away going, you know what? I didn't vibe that. You don't have to. There's no pressure. This is the great thing about doing writing sessions, is that generally writing sessions aren't paid for. They're free. And so if you want to suss someone out, book in a writing session and just see if you so that's huge. And then I think, another big one is trust. So, as an artist, you have to be able to trust the producer that you're working with, because they're going to be making a lot of decisions with, obviously, decisions that are informed by you, but there's also going to be a lot of decisions that maybe aren't informed by you, because you don't actually know what you want, and you don't need to. It's actually the producer's job to pull out of you the things that you didn't even know that you wanted. So if you find that, which, hopefully you should with a great producer, you need to be able to trust that. So, you have to be able to just go, I've worked with, some artists who, are really, really, it's not that they have trust issues, it's just that they really struggle to let go. And if you struggle to let go, then the whole songwriting process, the whole process in general, is going to be really difficult. And you're going to end up with a song that sounds, it sounds the way that you're feeling, and it sounds the way that the relationship has been feeling. So, as hard as it can be, try and, trust the producer that you're working with. And as Kate said, do a song. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, it's all good. Move on, find someone else. There's plenty of great producers around.
Yeah. And I love that what you were saying there, that the producer is working for you, but also so much stuff as an artist is so often you go in feeling like, oh, but they're the one who knows everything. And, and especially the first time, and I can attest to the first time doing that, I went in with no idea, didn't know how to kind of fight for what I wanted, or even know what I wanted, know what to ask for. And so a good producer will help you develop that and develop confidence, so that you can actually go in and have a really great, do it as a team. And I think that's the whole thing, is we're doing this as a team. And sometimes the coach or the producer will encourage you to maybe look, and you do this with me all the time. What about we try this, Kate? Oh, I don't know. Let's just give it a go, because I trust you, because I know that you know my vision, and I know that, you're going to go with your gut. Okay, let's give this a go. I kind of like this. We did this on a song the other day. I like these verses, but if you feel like they're not great, let's relook at them. Let's do it. It can't hurt to try. And so I think finding that, the reason I really wanted to talk to you, because I had this amazing, I'm so glad I asked back in 2014, hey Joel, would you be my producer? And you said yes. And I think it's been so valuable for me, and I hope I know that you've had a good time. But having that producer artist relationship be strong is probably one of the best things I think you can do for your song and for your career.
Yep. Totally agree. It's all, I was talking to someone today about this, it's all about relationship. I have a mastering guy that I use for everything. And it's not that I think that he is the best at every genre. I don't know. And I'm sure that there are other mastering engineers that may be better. But the relationship means so much to me, because, and I know that it means a lot to him, because we have this working relationship. He gets a lot of work from me. Therefore, he's going to respect every single song that I send him, because it's in his best interest to do really great work for me. I've done it. I've done this before, where I've gone, oh, you know what? I'm gonna take this record or this single, and I'm gonna send it to the best mastering house in the world in New York. And it's going to come back, and it's going to sound like way better, way bigger, all of this stuff. And it came back, and I was super disappointed. But I didn't have the relationship to be able to go back and go, oh, guys, can we maybe relook at this? Or I feel like there's a little bit of an issue here. Or, I was just a number. I was just another name on the card that was like, all right, who we got up next? Great. Blah, blah, blah. And look, they're professional. Yeah. They're going to do a great job. But because there's no relationship, even if, my mastering, guy spends 5% more time on my song than someone else, I will take that. I'll take that, every day of the week. Mm-hmm. So relationship is so, so important. That doesn't mean that you need to, work with, the same producer for every song, for every album that you're ever going to do. I'd actually probably, say don't do that, branch out at some point. You look at every, all the best bands in the world, and generally at some point they go, okay, you know what, we need like a rebrand, we need some sort of thing, and we're going to work with someone else. So yeah, I think that's really, really important. I am struggling to get back to what your initial question was, which was...
It's totally fine. We answered it. We just recapped some great things about
Recap.
trust. Be yourself and find someone who will encourage you to be your true artist, to tell your story in the way that you do it. Yeah. And I love that. You're working yourself out of a job there, Joel. Maybe album 3, I'll pick someone else. I'm
like, I am very confident in, what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And I think that, we've talked about this before, there can be a very big tall poppy syndrome within Australia, which is, I need to hold on to my artist, I need to hold on to my work. I can't let that guy come in and I'm like, stuff that. It's like, I know that I'm going to, find the people that I need to work with. And if someone wants to go, I said this to an artist that I was mixing. So I've mixed probably 10 of their songs or 10 singles. And I was FaceTiming him and I said, look, just because you've used me for 10 songs doesn't mean that, I just want you to know that if you want to branch out, please branch out. I'm not going to sit here getting all, upset because you've gone, with a different mixing guy at all. It's like, you need to do what you need to do for your and I think it's just like I'm just at an age, or I've done a certain amount of things in my life where I'm just like, I know my abilities and I'm confident in my abilities. And so if you want to work with me, great. If you don't, great. It's all good. Happy days.
Well, speaking of that, I know you're working on your website. I'm not sure if you've pressed go on it yet.
It's pretty close.
Maybe you'll be done by the time the summit airs. So what is your website? If people want to find out what you've done and engage with you, find out a bit more about you, how do they do that?
So, yes, it hopefully will be up by the time that this airs. So it's not just a website that's like, jobdowling.com. It's actually... it's more, I'm kind of going for like a bigger umbrella, which does incorporate everything that I do, but also can accommodate for bigger things in the future. So the whole thing is called kinship, which means, blood relationship. And so it really is this whole idea about, community, working together and creating together. And so, at the moment, it's got all of my catalog on there, all the stuff that I've done, not that it's live yet, could be in a couple of weeks. And so once it is all up and running, I can give the link to Kate, and no doubt she can post it, but it's all, it's all on there, all the contacts, all the bio, all that stuff. So yeah. It's exciting. I think it's, I'm at a stage in my life where I'm like, you know what? I'm proud of, the things that I've achieved. And I'm not going to apologize for that. And I think that as Australians with Tall Poppy, we apologize for what we've done all the time. And we shouldn't. Like, we've got to stand up straight and be like, yeah, you know what? I did that and I'm proud of it and I kicked ass.
Yeah.
100%.
Love it. So good, Joel. We're going to round it off there. And I just love your perspective. I love your professionalism and how you just keep things with an open hand so people just feel really comfortable in your zone. You're an excellent producer. You're so good at what you do. And I'm so grateful for just your stories and your insight today and for being a part of the summit.
Great. Thanks for having me.
We'll have a gin later on, whenever they let us out of the house.
Woo!